just through Facebook ads, I've booked 11 grand. I've booked at least two weddings outside of that. So a total of 15 grand of revenue for this year. I was not making any money before. So I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
Being able to see my business bank accounts have money in it and signing contracts, it just feels good. You feel confident. You feel like a real business owner. You don't feel like you're in a hobby anymore. Really working with rapid bookings, the return on investment, not only with the coaching, but the landing pages and the automations. And so all of those things put together, it's like the value is so high. And so that's just important for people to know.
I like to always start off by asking people like, let's give a quick 30 to 60-second rundown on who's Tristan, how'd you come about to, starting your company, all of that stuff.
Yeah, so I've been doing photography for probably about seven to 9 years. I started doing video about 6 to 7 years ago, and started in college doing concerts, focusing on concert journalism, music journalism. And then I dove into the world of independent filmmaking and was asked by my cousin in 2018 to film her wedding. So I've been doing them on and off for a few years now. And then I decided last year that I just saw building the wedding videography business as something that I can do to really create a long-term income and replace our full-time incomes and leave our jobs. So we were like, hey, let's invest the money into gear and whatever else we need to do to get started. So here we are.
Yeah, I have to mention, your wife also helps you with the shooting, right?
She doesn't help me with the shooting per se, but she does help me with the client experience and then some of the client advocacy. So anything that has to do with sending gifts, thank yous, especially to our partners. So wedding planners, venues, anybody that has come alongside us to support us, we want to make sure that they're being taken care of, shown appreciation for. So she helps me a lot with that.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Because I was like stalking on Instagram and I was like, oh, okay, that's his wife.
Yeah, that is the wife.
Gotcha, man. So, what's been your journey like since you decided, like, okay, I want to pursue weddings and try to make it our full-time career? Yeah, what were you kind of doing? When did you decide, like, okay, I gotta ramp up marketing?
Mhm. So, first, I started with building my website, getting that done. I ended up working with a story brand certified writer to do the wireframe and really dive into what is going to be the brand of Tristan Scott Films.
Hmm.
So, we did a discovery around that and then created a brand voice. And then that's where I got my website from. I ended up building it and designing it. Um, and then really for me, the push was starting to create vendor relationships. So talking to venues, other photographers, putting them on our website to just showcase their work and refer them to other couples. But the thing is with us having a baby soon and my wife wanting to transition from her full-time job into being a full-time parent,
Yeah.
I was like, I have to do some kind of marketing that's going to bring in results in a more automated fashion. I can't just think that Instagram and referrals is what's going to help me grow my business. So I started doing Facebook ads of my own, which weren't the most successful, but it was something to try to get it kickstarted. And I was like, hey, this is a lot of work, and I don't necessarily need or want to be an expert at doing ads, although I know how they work and I could build them if I wanted to. I appreciate more working with other people that are really good at what they do. So I'd rather surround myself with those kind of people that are smarter than me, better than me, and who I can rely on versus hey, I'm gonna try to figure it all out on my own.
Yeah, this is news to me because I had no idea that you tried running ads before by yourself.
Yeah, I did. I created a free getaway guide
Hmm.
to a place in Texas called Fredericksburg. It's one of the tourist towns in our state. And
Okay.
so I created that free guide as a lead magnet, and same concept as, have a lead magnet and then have an
Yeah.
opt-in page and all that. And I was like, then I realized it wasn't really catered towards getting people to move them down the funnel. It was just something that was kind of ambiguous, and it could be marketed to anybody who is married or not married. So I was like, I don't really know if this is gonna be the best lead magnet for that. So I was like,
Yeah.
man. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, okay. How long did you run it? How much did you spend on that campaign? I'm just curious.
I spent $60, probably, maybe
Okay, not
probably
bad,
up to 150. So got a few clicks here and there, but I was like,
but no leads.
man, oh no, no leads. I
Yeah,
mean, the marketing leads were even weak. So I was just like, this isn't the best. So
yeah. I personally don't even care about clicks. Like clicks don't
no.
translate into leads or revenue in your pocket. So like that's a vanity metric because you can have an ad with like tons of clicks, but it's not even generating profit.
Yeah, and I've learned that from working with clients from the agency side where, typically you would present them some kind of metrics to show like these are leading indicators and that can be the clicks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, as a business owner, I can relate to them a lot more because if I'm not getting leads and I'm not booking
Hmm.
or closing deals, then those metrics don't matter to me because something's broken somewhere.
Yeah. And also for people watching this, your day job is working at a marketing agency.
Yes, I do work full time at a branding and marketing agency. So everything from brand strategy all the way down to marketing strategy and planning execution, that is that is my background. So I have a little bit of a different point of view than a lot of creatives would maybe have just because they don't have that experience and
Yeah.
they're starting out really fresh and may not know anything about sales or marketing at all.
Do you guys work on ad campaigns or do you work on them?
So, us as an agency, we do work on the ad campaigns, and I don't personally touch all of them because I'm an account manager. So,
Yeah.
I focus more on client facing and strategizing with the client, and then bringing that to the team and being an advocate for the clients to the team about what we need to do. But I have worked in Meta ads and LinkedIn ads, for example, to do brand awareness campaigns, but less of the actual lead gen or demand gen side.
Yeah. Okay. You have a lot more experience than the typical artist or creative. So that's why for me, it's kind of like, hey, if you're saying you want to work with experts, yet you're actually legit day job is being surrounded by the experts. I'm curious, man, what made you be like, you know what? Why not ask my buddies at the agency versus working with the actual like outside experts like us?
Well, the main thing is that there's a conflict of interest if I were to try to work with any of our extended partners or people on our team. So I
True,
wouldn't want to get into that.
true, true.
And then on the other side of that, for me, I think it's really important to work with people that are niched down into a certain uh, either industry or segment of that industry or vertical, so to speak, not to use too much marketing jargon,
Yeah,
but very specific. So working with people that focus on wedding photographers and videographers, it makes a huge difference because the industry, the clientele, whether they are in a mid-market range or a luxury range, you know what the pain points are and you know how to speak to that clientele. And so if I were to partner with somebody, one of the things that I am not the best at, which is surprising because I'm an account manager, but it's relaying information to convey what I actually want to happen. And so I've ran into that working with graphic designers, even other videographers, video editors. And so it helps me if somebody's already privy to pretty much the baseline information and what needs to happen with the campaigns versus me trying to teach it and tell every single detail about how something needs to work.
Got it. Yeah. So, long story short, somehow you found us at Rapid Bookings, probably through an ad like everybody else. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what made you want to go work with us versus somebody else? I'm not even sure if you were exploring other options.
So I have seen other creatives, photographers, specifically in the wedding industry, teach ads and do ad funnels or sales funnels. And so you weren't the first company that I came across of that does it specifically for the wedding industry. But I think one of the things that was my big holdup was so I looked at some of their even coaching calls or training videos, if you will. And I was like, hey, I get it. I understand how it works. You know, lead magnet, opt-in page, this, that, and the other thing. I know how it works. But I also work a full-time job. I, am involved in my community. I have friends. I want to go to the gym. Building a business outside of that and trying to be a good husband and good friend and son. On top of that, I don't want to throw away my life in the things that I care about to be good at business. So one of the things that those people don't do, at least what I don't think that they do, is they don't actually support you in doing your ad campaigns or giving you the resources you need to be ahead of the curve, for example. And that's why with Rapid Bookings, when I saw your ad with specifically you speaking, you spoke specific to my pain points. And it was funny because after I scheduled the call, I was thinking about it and I was like, wow, I broke down the formula and I was like, he got me. He literally got me. Got the emotions, hit the pain points, the solution sounded good. I was like, okay. And what led me to want to make a decision is I was like, okay, Rapid Bookings is going to be an actual partner, not just an educator,
Right.
because there's a lot of people that do courses, masterminds, coaching, conferences, and things like that. And that's great. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. That's why I was like, hey, Rapid Bookings is going to become a partner. They're going to support me. It's going to be very interactive and collaborative. So I was like, okay, let's go.
So, did you have any hesitations or concerns when you were signing up for this, or were you like, saw the ad, love it, I'm sold?
My main hesitation is that since my business wasn't generating revenue at that point, I was considering the investments that I was making. And although I was spending some money on doing ads, I was taking that out of my active income, if you will, what I do from 8 to 5.
Hmm.
And so there's some things like that where I've signed up for the Knot and Wedding Wire, which wasn't one of my best choices, but I had a colleague in the industry and she does wedding cakes and she gets all of her leads from Wedding Wire. And so I just went in trusting it, took a risk on it. I negotiated it down. So it's fine, but I've got that going on my, personal income as well. So there's just those things and having a baby that I'm like, I have to think about my wife. think about providing for a family. I don't want to, I just need to be strategic about how I spend money and be responsible, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's just one thing with most people in anything. You work hard for your money, so you're just going to think, hey, I want to hold on to it. You might have a little more of a scarcity mindset, especially if you have a certain background where you have spent a lot of money in education and things like that, which I have done in the past. So I was thinking about it and going through the call and deciding whether if we wanted to work together or not. I pretty much decided, well, worst case scenario, I book a couple weddings and I pay for it, and it's not a big deal. Especially at my price point, it's like, hey, worst case scenario, you have one wedding and you cover it, and it's not
Hmm.
a big deal. So I think that's just for anybody. People are conservative about how they spend money, and especially when you're in different stages in life. So that was my only real hesitation. And so, yeah.
How'd you overcome that fear? Because that's common. A lot of people have that fear and hesitation, and also like with a new baby on the way, like how did you justify the investment in your future?
Well, the main thing is that I know that ads work, and I know that I work as
Mm,
far as like I'm willing to work. I'm not lazy, so I'm willing to put in the work to make money, regardless of whether things worked out or not with whoever I partnered with. And so I pretty much decided that, hey, I have to do something. Baby's coming sooner than later. There is a catalyst that is driving me to a decision,
yeah.
and there's a real outcome at the end of that that I have to be prepared for. And if I don't make a decision, then I'm going to be stuck at this point because my wife is a strong willed person. She's Romanian, Eastern European. She is like, hey, buddy, figure it out because I ain't working. And I'm like, if you don't work, we're gonna be broke. And I like to get sushi one time, at least one time a week. So that was the main thing. I just decided that I have to do something. I know ads work.
Yeah.
I know working with people smarter than me is always a good decision. And so there's no point fighting on it. And I hate the idea of being stuck where I am in life because I know I have more potential and I am ambitious, and it is something that drives me. So,
Yeah. Well, you also have to minimize the regret that you're probably going to have when you're 80 years old or 90 years old. And
right.
I mean, this is just advice for anybody in business. Entrepreneurship is risky. The safe thing is to stay at a job. Um, and then anytime you're making a risk, you have to look at the upside versus the downside. Like downside might be
Right.
you lose X amount of money. And at that moment, it might feel like, oh my gosh, my life will totally end if I lose this amount. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. And the upside can be, having a flourishing business and having the life that you really want. So oftentimes it's like, am I willing to bet on myself, bet on my future,
Mhm.
bet on the better life that I can have for my family, for my friends, whoever?
Well, I think one of the other things that is important for people to know is, we spend a lot of money investing, especially into our gear, subscriptions, all those things. Yes, we are creatives and we can find creative ways to do what we do, but we spend thousands of dollars on gear, sometimes an unreasonable amount. And I think coming from the agency side, I know how much things cost and the cost of goods sold and the cost of having employees and all those things. And really working with rapid bookings, the return on investment, not only with the coaching, but the landing pages and the automations, and even you just running ads, all of those things are worth so much money that if people really knew how much all those things cost and what it would cost to hire most people or agencies, and let alone coaching, people pay tens of thousands of dollars for coaching alone. And so all of those things put together, it's like if people knew, they'd be like, this is such a deal that I don't even know how they do it, but the value is so high. And so that's just important for people to know.
Yeah.
And I think with people like how much we charge with weddings, it's like there's monthly retainers for this kind of work that are double the amount, and that's every month. Let alone doing a program that's, X amount of months long or
Mm.
however long it is. It's, yeah, there's the pricing is completely reasonable, and it's just fun. It's fun to be able to be challenged. You're not like you say it how it is. You don't take it. You're not a weak coach. You're very open about what's true and what works, and you and the team are very data driven. So anytime where there's something where I'm like, and you know this, I've offered several things where I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
why'd you do this? And I can relate to it because my clients do it to me, and it's like, what? Why don't we do this? Or why'd you do this to the landing page? Or what? Interesting that you chose that creative for that. Why'd you do that? And you're like, hey, we split test this. This is what's working. I
Yeah.
was like, hey, I made this video. It'd be really cool. And you're like, hey, are you booking calls? Well, yeah. Then let's not change anything. It's like, okay, you're right.
Yeah, but I also appreciate you because you have that little bit of marketing knowledge, right? Not a little bit, you have a lot of marketing knowledge, and you also trust us to do our job. And like literally the entire company for us and also the team, we're so like numbers and data driven. Like we don't let
Mm-hmm.
emotions get in the way. And oftentimes I'll say this, pissed off other clients. They're like, what? But I want to do this. But I'm like, no, this is what's making you
No,
money. You got to keep doing this. You can't
it's
F with
so
it.
true. It's so true. The amount of times I hear that where it's like, why don't we do this? Or why don't I spend money on this and that? And you're like, no, this is what works. This is what's proven. And there's two kinds of people. There's like people where it's like, this is proven and this works. And then there's people that just shoot in the dark and see what happens. And I think sometimes as marketers, we have to be somewhere in the middle where we want to be reliant on what's the bread and butter, what's consistent. And then we can be progressive and challenge the boundaries at times, but we test it to see what works, right?
Yeah. Well, while we're on the topic of numbers, tangible results since you've been here.
Yeah. So through everything, I've booked just through Facebook ads, I've booked 11 grand. And then I've booked at least two weddings outside of that. So a total of 15 grand of revenue for this year. And yeah,
Nice. How you feeling about that?
I was not making any money before. So I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
Being able to see my business bank accounts have money in it and signing contracts, it just feels good. You feel confident. You feel like a real business owner. You don't feel like you're in a hobby anymore.
Yeah.
And you can get on calls with people and just get to know them and not
Hmm.
even navel gaze into what about me and do they like me and all those things. It's I know I can produce for your wedding, whether we're in, Dallas, Texas, Colorado, Hawaii, or Ireland. We're gonna make your dreams come true. Um, and I have a line of people that want to work with me to prove that. So all I have to do is see if we click and if we get along, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. I should probably know how many months you've been here. I think it's like you're on your second or third month in here, so not too shabby for that time frame.
3 months. I
Yeah.
think less than 3 months, maybe 2.5,
Yeah, I think
maybe.
I think two and a half ish.
Yeah. So it's not like crazy with people, some people they're booking way more than that. So 15 grand is like, hey, it's not a ton per se, but you also have to remember, not you, but anybody who's watching this, that I work a full-time job. I
Right.
have a limited amount of time that I'm taking sales calls. So I might be, I leave a few days open in the evening during the week and then a few times on Saturday and Sunday. But like I said earlier, I wanted to go to the gym to stay healthy. That's important to me. And it's like my therapy session going to the gym. So I need it. And also, I have a wife. I'm married. I'm involved in church. I have parents. Both my parents live here. My in-laws live here. And so I have responsibilities outside of work. And so I don't have as much time as most people taking sales calls and booking meetings all the time, booking weddings all the time. And I can take weddings whenever. And so for somebody, oh, also, I'm only spending a limited amount of money on ads a month because I'm letting revenue generate and
Yeah.
getting the flywheel going. And then when the business can is self-reliant and can pay for itself as those weddings come in, because I'm starting from nothing and I'm generating revenue for the next year. So I'm projecting that revenue by booking now. So as those the payments come in from the retainers, then I can put the ads on the business and I can spend more money and don't have to worry about constraining my personal income. And so for somebody that doesn't spend a lot of money on ads and has very limited time, I would say that's not something to shake a stick at for, doing this part time.
No, I just remembered that. That's so true because I always bug you. I think we're always bugging you. It's like, hey, you need to open up your calendar availability.
I'm
And
like,
then
this is what I got.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, that's all my time. And I think I don't remember, but I think your budget was what, 350 per month or 450 per month for ads, something like that.
Yeah, I had us cut it down to 450, which
All
is
right.
$15 a day. And I was like, man, I'm sorry, but
It
I
is
don't
what it
want to
is.
make my wife too mad.
Yeah.
I already owe her a diamond ring for even investing the money in the first place.
Yeah.
She's supportive, but she was like, dude, you better not screw it up. But so yeah, I did cut it down a lot, and that's not a ton of money, but I think when you have good creatives and you have good copy, they're going to convert better. So that's something to think about too, is that people need to come in and put some thought into the creatives that they're using. And most of the time, the reels, like Instagram reels that are from organic that performed really well, sometimes those make the best creatives. So you don't
Yep.
need to think way too hard about this. Um, I make reels with my professional camera to showcase my work. And so those worked as ad creatives. So I've maybe made one video specific for ads, but the rest just came from what I already have on Instagram. So if you have good creatives, good copy, they should convert well. So yeah.
Well, it's a whole bunch of shebang, right? Like you've said, the raw ingredients is simple. Lead magnet,
Mm,
opt-in page, some sort of a funnel, email automations, um, of course, the sales script, all that stuff. But it's like how you do it in what layer and how much of it you do it. It's kind of like the recipe to Coca-Cola. You have the recipe at the back of the can. It says like
right.
sugar, high fructose corn syrup, or whatever. But like you can get those ingredients anywhere, but you cannot combine it in a way that it makes it
Yeah.
Coca-Cola. It's a special sauce.
Yeah, you're not a chemist.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into an ad campaign. Obviously, the number one thing is like having really good creatives. And like for wedding photographers and videographers, like the creative is your work. So it makes life so
Right.
much easier. And then, of course, we can create some like video ads like you did. And that was actually killer. And then, of
Thank
course,
you.
the tech setup, the campaign structures, and the copy that we can take care of.
Yeah. And it's huge. Takes off so much time, and you don't have to worry about second guessing yourself. You're not an ads expert.
Yeah.
So,
What was your big lessons from being in the program, like from the education and course side?
so my biggest lessons from the coaching side specifically was booking, booking from the call. I think one of the things that I cannot stand is being my perception of how I'm being perceived to other people is really important to me.
Yeah.
So in the past, where maybe I was talking to people about certain things and they were like, I don't know. And, it's almost like a judgment on character that bothers me personally. That's something I'm still growing out of caring what other people think. And so selling on the call and sounding pushy and really digging into people's pain points, I didn't want to do as much because I'm kind of like, hey, if they're a no, they're a no. And if they're a yes, they're a yes. I'm not really going to dig into it. And I don't want to waste their time in my time. So I strayed away from that. However, we had a conversation that was centered around that. And you told me that, hey, you are actually doing them a favor and saving them time by asking for the sale on the call. And the other thing that you said that really stuck out to me was if you don't do it, somebody else will. And it happens to me all the time. I actually recently lost a quality lead, gorgeous venue. The couple were fantastic. I even wanted to like hang out with the husband or the groom.
Hmm.
And he was a videographer. He started a new job where he knew other videographers, and I didn't ask them for the sale on the call. And he met a guy at work, and that guy said, hey, I'd love to film your wedding. So they went and they just signed the contract with him. So if I would have just said, hey, let's do a deposit, it doesn't have to be anything big, but something to lock in your date, and then I'll send the proposal later with that amount subtracted from that,
Yep.
then we would have been good. But I didn't do that. So I was like, man, I just lost about $3,500 from not doing that. So that was a major lesson learned for me, and also how to go about doing that in a way that's genuine, that's actually being abundant towards the couple, and not a sleazy salesman. I'm pushing you to make a decision that you're going to feel guilty about. Nothing like that. It's more of like, hey, we obviously click, we get along super well. I believe I can give you everything that you need for your wedding to make your dreams come true. How do y'all feel about signing or sending over the deposit and securing your wedding date? And typically people are going to be like, yeah, why not?
That's it.
Let's go for it.
That's it. Yeah, it's not that complicated. We just tend to make it seem overly complicated and put labels on it, like being pushy and
Mm-hmm.
salesy. Anybody watching this video, I mean, there was nothing pushy or salesy about Tristan. But then when you teach somebody to do that for the first time, they're like, oh my God, I have all these mental blocks coming up. I cannot do it.
Yeah, I can't do it. What are you gonna think about me? Are you gonna feel like I'm a dirty salesman? Like, no, man. People,
Yeah, man. I remember right after that coaching call, like you're like, oh, I booked weddings. I was like, heck yeah, that's what I'm
I
talking
booked
about.
two, booked two right after
There
that.
we go. There we go. We gotta see that flex coming out, the sales flex.
Let's go, man.
So, what advice would you have for like other clients that are like coming into the program right now and they are also, let's say, having that mindset block or sales block where they're thinking, oh, I don't want to be pushy or salesy, whatever, whatever. Like, what advice would you have for them?
I think that what we do in our profession, we ask for a lot of money, and that's a real thing, and budgets are real things for couples, and for those of us that have been married and we've spent money on weddings and hired vendors, there's a lot of these couples are going through a lot, especially if they don't have a planner and they're not in that budget range. They're relying on us as experts in our field to help them navigate these decisions. And so the biggest thing for me is that when you're navigating these sales calls and just being yourself and trying to build a genuine relationship with people, and you really feel like you connect with them and that you could even be friends with them, asking them for the sale just makes sense. It's like meeting somebody cool and asking them if they want to go get a beer or coffee, you know, things like that. It just makes sense. So if you meet great clients and are potential clients, then you're like, hey, you know what you're doing in your craft. You love the people who you can potentially work with. And if you're like me, you're people over profit. And so you care about the relationships more than you care about making money. Then telling them, hey, I'm going to be somebody who you can trust and who's going to care about your day and is going to put a lot of heart into the art that you make, then that couple should feel confident about working with you and it should feel seamless to ask them for that sale.
Wow. So well said, well put. Like it's just the next logical step. Um, we're diving into this like a podcast at this point.
We should
Um,
make a podcast episode. I
I
just started
think
one.
I think we should. It would be great, Rapid Bookings podcast. But why do you think people have that fear of like asking them for the next logical step? Like from your standpoint, when you went through it, do you think it was just
Mhm.
like a fear of rejection, fear of judgment?
I think it's rejection. People, it's like if you're going to ask a pretty girl on a date, then
Yeah.
there's always room
Yeah.
for them to say no.
Yeah.
If you're like, man, I'm at the gym, I just met the coolest, prettiest girl I've ever seen in my life, and what's the next logical step?
Yeah.
Secure step one.
Right.
Ask them out. They can always
Yeah.
say no. And I think when you're putting yourself out there as an artist, and for people that are more creative and they're more of a creative before they're a business owner, and that kind of jumps into the book E Myth, where people they're good at their craft, and so they start a business, not realizing they have to be good at business to
Yeah.
run it as that craft. And so for me, I'm an entrepreneur before I'm a creative. I know I always wanted to be a business owner and wanted to own my own time and decisions and results in life. And I've chose being a creative as an outlet to do that, as my vehicle to do that. And so if you're not that and you're more of a creative who just likes doing this as a business, but really haven't learned to be a business owner yet or an entrepreneur, then people saying no to you feels like an indictment on your work.
Yep.
And we are all constantly struggling on whether we're good or not. We always compare to the Instagram reels and TikTok, and somebody's got higher quality and better work than us, and they're going to this place and that place. And we feel like we're behind. We feel like we're being left in the dust. And so you may feel like, although your work is phenomenal and people can tell you that all the time, somebody saying no to you feels like I'm telling myself that story and it's validating that story in my head. And you got to get rid of that story. They're not saying no to you. They're saying no because they don't know what they want. And they're not ready to make a decision because they don't know what they want. So that's just the thing that I would point out there is that as an artist, you asking for the sale and asking to make a commitment is is not going to lead you with a no that's saying that you're bad at what you do. They're just not the ideal client. They're just not the right fit for you. Maybe in some cases, if you're spiritual, maybe God is keeping that from you for a reason. Maybe they're not the right client and it would have been really bad that you worked with them. So I have to tell myself that sometimes when I get no shows and things like that, I don't take them personally. I think, you know what? Like, thank you. They weren't the right client. And if they were, it would have worked out. So that's just the way that I think about it and approach it from an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. So the right people are out there and they're going to work with you. So,
Yeah. I mean, as an artist, as a creative, the biggest thing that you could do for yourself is just love yourself unconditionally, regardless
mm,
of what your business is doing. Like the numbers in your bank account is not a reflection of your work or your
right.
self-worth. You should love yourself whether you're homeless or you're a multimillionaire. You should appreciate yourself the same level. And the funny thing is, when you do that, um, getting to a more financially successful place becomes easier because it's not like
Mm-hmm.
every rejection is like a stab at you. It's just kind of like, okay, you didn't want to work with me. That's fine. I'll just talk to the next couple. And you just brush it off. Um, and like to bring the story kind of full circle, I was that guy, Tristan,
Mm,
that was so afraid to ask the girl out. So this was in high school. Again, I'm like putting myself on blast over here. I really like this girl, but again, for like 1 or 2 semesters, I was just like so shy to ask her out.
mm,
Finally, man, this is like the end of the school year. I was like, gotta go for it. Now or never, now or never. So I'm like walking up to her locker, right? I'm like, told all my friends, this is the big day, man. Let's go. Pumped myself up. Then I walk up to her locker, and guess what? I'm like, who's this dude? Wait, 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 wait. Why is she
mm.
kissing him? What? Whoa, what?
Ooh,
I was like, oh, while I
too
was
late.
waiting, she got snatched. She has a boyfriend now.
Oh man, that's the worst.
It's a true story, true story. And it was a guy from another high school. And I was just like, I
Of
thought
course.
nobody was on your radar. What happened? I thought you were gonna wait for me.
They're everywhere, man. They're lurking. They're waiting. You gotta get in there.
Yeah. Same thing with the wedding couples. Opportunity doesn't wait for anybody. It's like that old saying, time and tide waits for none. So it's so
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
that's so true.
Bro, what other key pieces of advice would you have for people? Like whether they're clients of ours or any other artists out there, like about their mindset, about their worth. Like if you could actually go back to a younger Tristan, like what would you say to that person?
Definitely be confident in your work. Be willing to risk. Be willing to fail. There's so much rewards in just choosing this path in life. And for me, I'm just not a corporate guy. I can't stand having somebody else decide what I get to do, how long I get to take off from my baby, how long I get to go on vacation, how much money I make, all those things. And so you choosing this route in life is hard. Being an entrepreneur or a solopreneur is hard. And so don't expect it to be easy. Don't expect it to become free, whether it's through sweat equity or if it's through money that you're investing. But be wise in what you invest in and who you listen to, because there's a lot of people willing to give opinions. And for me, I I decide to have discernment on what I should do, and I live with the consequences of my decisions, and that's a part of life. And so I think don't listen to everybody. Don't feel like you're always lacking something. Sometimes it's just small tweaks that you need to change to get to the next level that you want to be. And, you know, it's okay to be scared sometimes if you make decisions where you're like, I don't know, is it going to work out? We have to do everything for the first time. Asking a girl out for the first time is scary. Asking for the sale the first time is scary. Living on your own for the first time is scary. All these things seem scary in the beginning, but then you do it and you're like, whoa, I can do that. And your mind shifts to the capacity that you can have, and your dream gets bigger. You see, oh, I can make 3 grand a wedding. I can make 10 grand a month. I can make 50 grand a month. I can quit my job. I can go travel and work if that's what you decide to do. Your capacity changes. And then those things that you thought were scary in the beginning, the amount of money that you invest in the beginning, the future you will look back on that and say, wow, that was pennies. Look at where we came, or look at where we came from. And I don't even know who that is anymore. I don't know that guy. I look at pictures from me 5 years ago and I'm like, who is that guy? I have no idea who he is. Because my vision is so much bigger for the future and the possibilities of what life can be like. And the same thing will happen to you. So,
Chase the vision.
yeah,
Don't get
chase the vision.
don't get stuck in today's worries.
Yeah, life seems hard when you're in the thick of it. So, also having other people that are unbiased helps a lot because they can say, hey, I know you feel stuck and the world feels this small right now, but there's things outside your vision that somebody with an unbiased opinion can look at and say, hey, it's okay. Step right, step left, turn this way, turn that way. So there you go.
That's a wrap, man. Words of wisdom. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I
Man,
will say,
yes, go ahead.
side note,
Yeah.
when before I was working for, or before I started working with Rapid Bookings, I did watch all of the testimonials. I looked at everything. If you got it, you bet I watched it.
Holy cow.
And going into it, even though I was like, I don't know if I'll work with them, but I was like, I'm gonna be one of those guys that he interviews.
Well, here you are. And honestly, you were a great success story because I cannot wait to post this inside our client community because I mean, full transparency. We were generating leads for you. You were getting appointments and calls on your calendar. And then I was like, why is he not booking weddings? Until we had that private coaching call, shifted your
Yeah.
mindset. Then it was like, boom, unlocked. So I wanna like show this to our existing clients and be like, hey, if Tristan can get over this hurdle, you absolutely can. And like you spit so much truth bombs here. So like, there you go.
Thank you, Mahmood. I appreciate your help and just coaching and guidance. It's been well worth more than what I
Yeah.
paid. And whenever I'm in Denver for
Oh,
weddings,
you know
then I'm
we're
gonna
hanging
hit you
out.
up.
We know we're
Yeah.
hanging out for sure. So, man, cool. We'll wrap it up.
Thank you, sir.